This is a video we have been promising to film for probably 3 years. Today, we're going to talk to you about how we ended up deciding to retire to England. If you're new to our channel, my name is Dara.
And I'm Ian.
And I'm an American citizen.
And I am a dual British American citizen, but I assume I also have citizenship in Jamaica since that's where I was born.
Very complicated, Ian. I grew up in the U.S. Ian grew up mostly in the U.S. from the time he was about 4 years old. He was living in California, which is why he has that accent and not a British one or a Jamaican one. But he would spend some time every year in Britain as well. We'll get into more about that later. We wanted to talk to you today about how we ended up coming to the situation we're in now, which is we live in Texas for about 7 months of the year. And then for 5 months of the year, we live in the UK or overseas in general.
Here's a quick explanation to clarify an important point. As an American citizen, I, or pretty much any American, can stay in the UK for up to 6 months with no visa. This is only for a tourist visit. You can visit on holiday or to spend time with friends or family. This is called being a standard visitor. You can also stay on business if you are attending a meeting or an interview. You can also be a student in a school exchange program or studying or taking an exam. What you cannot do is work. No unpaid or paid work. You can volunteer for a charity for less than 30 days, but that is the only exception. The other thing you cannot do is claim benefits, of course. You also can't get married. If you want to do that, you need a marriage visitor visa. So for us, we are semi-retiring in England. We do some paid work during the 7 months we are in the US, and when we are in the UK for 5 months, we are basically on holiday. Of course, I do make a tiny bit of money from YouTube, but that is paid to me in the US.
So let's go back to the beginning, Ian. What do you remember? We're going to hear your version of the story and then my version of the story. What do you remember about our decision to buy a flat in England?
Well, I think I vaguely had this idea that it would be nice to be able to have a place that we could live in over there for the summers. Got a lot of relatives over there. I've been a British citizen all my life. And so I thought it would be nice to be able to have a place over there during the summer when the weather is the most pleasant.
And when the weather in Texas is not.
Yes, exactly.
What would you like to say about what it's like living in Texas in the dead of summer?
It's miserable.
You basically can't sleep at night.
Well, I can, but it takes a lot of air conditioning.
Yeah. Tell me about what you remember about the first discussions to actually buy the flat in England.
I think that you brought up the fact that we should buy a flat in England, that you wanted to do that. And I was not so keen on the idea when it came down to actually wanting to do that and spend the money that it was going to take to do that. I was not so keen on that idea.
So here's what I remember about this story. Kind of the milestone, the crossroads we were at is that our youngest son was attending university in Austin, Texas. So we would drive down there to see him occasionally. And on one of those long, for us, road trips down there to Austin, we were just talking about the future and plans. And I said, well, now that we're empty nesters and we're selling the big house that we raised our children in, our big 4,000 square foot house with the pool and all of that. And we were downsizing. We got rid of over half of what we owned and we were downsizing into a much smaller place. I said, we worked really hard to pay off this big house and we're going to sell that and have some cash. So maybe this would be a good time to buy a wee place in England. Because for context, Ian's career has been as a realtor and property manager. So we had our primary residence and then we had 10 rental houses that you purchased and managed, right?
Yes.
So at that point, we decided we would move out of the big house. I say in quotes because that's a euphemism for prison. um, we broke out of the big house and we moved into a smaller home that was one of our rental properties. It was only a couple miles away. So we were making that move and moving into a house we already own. So we didn't need to use the money from that house to buy a new place to live. And rather than Ian taking those funds and using them to buy yet more rental properties in Texas, I said, England, England, England. So, yes, Ian's correct that early in our marriage, probably in our courtship, he mentioned the fact that it would be nice one day to own a place in Britain so that we could go there in the summers. It was kind of a pipe dream. And then leave it to Dara to actually call in that bet and say, okay, how about now? And yeah, that's the point at which Ian was like, oh, it's a lot of money. But, it was our time to pursue our dreams. And it was not a good financial decision because if we had taken that fat stack of cash and invested it in something else, I'm sure we would have had a much better return. But for us, the quality of life of being able to be in Britain during the summers, a lot of people ask us how we ended up choosing Cheltenham as a place to buy a flat. I did do a video about the 10 reasons we love living in Cheltenham, so definitely check that out. I'll put a link to it in the description. What I don't really talk about in that video are two things. One is that, as Ian mentioned, he has a lot of family in Britain. Now, for privacy reasons, aka privacy reasons, we don't go into detail about exactly who those relatives are and where they live because they don't have a YouTube channel and they didn't choose to put themselves out there on the internet for strangers to know about and comment on. So we're not going to go into details on that, but suffice it to say, we do have a number of relatives that live not too far away from Cheltenham, within like 30 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. We have a few different relatives in various directions. So it's a great place to live from a family reason, so that basically once a week and get together with them and spend time with them.
Also, we act as tour guides for a lot of our friends from the US that come over.
Right.
And it's pretty much an ideal location. It's really easy to get into London or come from Heathrow Airport. It's not too bad going to the West Country, which we really love to do. It's not too bad of a drive up north if we want to go to the Lake District or Yorkshire or any of the lovely places that are up north.
Mm-hmm.
It's
or
easy.
To Somerset. Yeah.
It's easy getting into Wales.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great location,
Mm-hmm.
pretty central.
Yeah. To clarify, we are not travel agents. We are not tour operators. We are not official tour guides, but we do have a lot of dear friends who are Anglophiles and really wanted to come to Britain. So many of them have come in past years, and this year is going to be a big year. This year, we're going to have like
five couples. Yeah.
5 different couples coming one after another in
beginning of May till mid-July. We've got fully booked up.
Yes. So watch this space for lots of adventures with American friends. And let us know if there's any in particular things that you want us to film with our American friends. We've done a number of taste tests in the past, but if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments and we'll take it under advisement. But we are going to be going a lot of fun places with those friends this year. So that was a huge part of our decision too, being able to have a place that was easy transit from our friends flying over from the US. Because if we lived in some beautiful place in Snowdonia, it's not an easy thing to get from Heathrow Airport up to there, or same thing to the Scottish borders or any other, really lovely place we might want to live. One thing that's an important part of Ian's history is that when he was a child growing up in California, he would come over to the UK every summer and spend time with family. And talk about the places that you would visit.
So when I was a preteen, I spent a lot of time in Wales. and
South Wales, right?
South Wales, yes. And I went to dozens of castles there. That was a big thing that I really like to do, is visit all the castles in Wales.
Yes. And then you would go visit your grandparents who lived in Cornwall.
Yes. Yeah.
And they were always National Trust members.
That's right.
So what would you do with them?
So we would just go to every National Trust property that was within reasonable driving distance of where they lived.
Right.
And they lived in Devon and also in Cornwall when I was younger.
Yes. So after we were married, they were living in Devon. So we, lots of visits to Devon, as well as your time spent in Cornwall. So not surprisingly, those are places that we love to visit. And if you want to see our Cornish vlog we did around Varian, which is the area that Ian would go and visit his grandparents in.
The Roseland Peninsula.
I will link that in the description as well. And then we have lots of Devon vlogs and South Wales vlogs. So if you're interested in any of those places, I'll put links to playlists in the description as well. So we love our flat. It's the perfect location. It's the perfect size. It's great for us to host people, but it's still not too big and too cumbersome. And we do actually have a video on the channel. It's very old. I filmed it right before COVID started. I'll put a link to our flat tour video if you want to check that out. But we will be doing 2 videos in the future. One about the whole process of us buying our flat. Because especially since Ian is a realtor and he knows a lot about buying and selling properties. We've purchased 20 homes in our 31 years of marriage. And so we understand what that process is like. And the one home that we've bought in England was a totally different experience. So we will do a video going into detail about how that was different. And then the other video that we'll do is of the ones that got away, because there were some really interesting flats we almost purchased. So we filmed some footage back when we were in Britain of some of those places that we almost bought, just so that you can see, because it's a little bit entertaining. So let us know what questions you have about our personal experience. We are not immigration experts or attorneys, so we can't tell you all the things that you should do or not do, or how you can immigrate to England if that's of interest to you. But we're happy to share what our experience has been. Thanks so much for watching this video. We appreciate your support, and do something good in the world today.